in a broken wasteland. Come to my fire and place your blood and steel upon my pyre. Oh.
What's going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Metal Forge. My name is Mark Jackson and I am your host. With me, as always, is Jason Gardner from the Ale Horn. Not today!
I should have brought my horn over here. Just right behind me. But...
No, I've had this on the wall here for a while, and since I cleaned up the Metal Forge earlier, I did some literal summer cleaning this week here in the Metal Forge. Got a new PC, got a new monitor that's going to be mounted to the wall soon, so anybody who comes in the Metal Forge and actually does an in-person interview, it's going to get a nice... you'll get to see the fucking waveform on the wall behind you as we're recording. I think I'm going to be doing some new video ideas while that's a thing. And yeah, I did cable management. So that's always fun shit. It's not a wad of twisted fucking cables under my feet anymore.
Cable management sounds like a class you could take at a community college.
Yeah, I mean, It probably is. I mean, at least at some point it was. So anyway, I want to show you this really fast because, you know, we're operating on a couple of different frequencies here. So since I cleaned everything up, I actually have a holster for the forge.
Right.
For the horn over here. So I don't know if you could still hear me when I was talking or not. But I kind of got away from it for a little bit. So, fun stuff. Jason, dude, how the fuck are you?
I'm good, man. Something I want to talk to you about that you posted today. It made me proud, but I totally disagree with you at the same time. And that would be the Gojira Olympic performance.
Dude, I saw that, and...
Yeah.
No, and I'm not saying that what they did was a bad thing by any stretch of the word, but I see people out there who are completely obliterating the idea that they played to a track or anything else. And looking back at the video and the picture that was posted from their drummer, yeah, there's no triggers even on those drums.
I mean, the trigger, dude. I mean, they could have put the triggers on the batter side of everything. They didn't show the back side of him playing. I mean, I'm sure being on the side of a castle, you have to get really creative.
Let me see if I can cue this up here really fast. Go ahead and keep talking about it. Tell me.
You know, it could have been electronic. It could have been an electric hybrid also.
Yeah, it totally could have. Totally not doing anything with that, you know. I mean, let me see if I can find the picture here. And I'm sure I'm like completely washed out. All right. Under new stuff. I don't know. Let me see if I can save this image and share it to the screen here, because we're going to get a look at this. We're going to try something new here in the Metal Forge.
You have like a laser painting circle shit with and everything, like a conspiracy theorist style?
No, I do not.
Yeah. I mean, if there's ever time to be a conspiracy theorist style,
so
we're living in it right now. So, yeah, it's a shame you don't have one.
Sure. All right, so, okay, here. We're going to share this.
All right.
Can you see this here?
Yes.
All right, so this is the picture that I saw taken from the outside of this drum set, or the inside of this drum set. And, like, looking through here, I'm not seeing any kind of microphone or trigger. I mean, this is questionable, but I think this is just refracted light from the symbol here.
Yeah.
Because as you can see, the Zildjian underneath it's just a reflection. So if it is, but even on the other stuff, there were no real, what the hell is going on here? Shit. Fuck you, Mazda. Now I'm going to get a fucking zing for that shit. Okay. But anyway, you see what I was seeing.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I have to say we don't know when that was. We don't know when that was taken though. It could have been before the day before or the hours before they were even playing.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. But I'm saying if they did, who gives a fuck? It's not like it's anything new. It happens at every fucking Super Bowl. I don't care. It's still a big deal for metal. Right. And the thing that pisses me off is the metalheads out there that fucking sit there and say, "Yeah, metal, we did this," and then it's like, "Yeah, but there's the possibility of this. Oh, they fucking suck." It's like, it's like you can't have it both ways, because there's a lot of people there. They can't do a big fucking changeover, and even still, there's bands out there today that fucking fucking Milli Vanilli it all fucking day long.
Yeah. I don't think a French death metal band is gonna really bone it in with a fake performance. I don't really think they need to, because I don't think they ever expected to get to this level anyway. I mean, it's an obscure genre. First of all, it's death metal, and then it's like French death metal.
Sure.
So I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean,
that for them was a Metallica moment.
Oh, that was bigger than anything Metallica's ever done. That was broadcast to at least 1 billion people. And yeah, I mean, it was recorded to a click. It had to be, because there was too much stuff going on that had to be exactly
with all of
that
the
point. Yeah,
with
opera singer,
with the backing track and the backing tracks and everything.
The opera singer coming on the boat, the blood splatter that was ribbons, but it looked very effective from a distance.
Sure,
stuff like that. So yeah, it was of course it was on a track, but I have no doubt they didn't really play it. You know,
right?
Yeah.
And you know how that shit is today, too, with mixing in a live setting. I mean, especially in upper echelon bands like that when they're playing in fucking stadiums and arenas and shit, that they're doing a 50-50 mix of triggers and live kit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was probably all run through the TV studio stuff anyway before it went out. Also,
sure.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there was
not to mention it's on a delay and... Yeah. You know, so there's all kinds of stuff with it.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it was very heavily
produced
for TV, but I still don't think they phoned it in, because they have no reason to, you know. Like I said, they're a death metal band.
But all the rock bands who have pantomimed it for the Super Bowl halftime don't have a reason to phone it in either. But
how many rock bands have played at the Super Bowl in the last 20 years?
The
Stones and Tom Petty. That's it. And the Stones are probably questionable that they don't phone it in.
Hasn't Aerosmith played it? I mean, Prince is still around.
I said 20. I said the last 20 years. I don't think Aerosmith played in the last 20 years.
The Who had
20 years.
Yes.
I don't know. That's for another time. But.
That's for another time. But I mean, it's still. I mean, and even sometimes I think it, like the fucking shit, like the Grammys, it's still pantomime for the.
Well, sure it is.
I mean, I know that was one of the things that they had talked about in a year and a half in the live, how they hated it. But anyways, we've been rambling on here for a fucking minute. Jo Gamel from Metal of Jupiter and Jo Gamel's Rock Goddess podcast is our guest today. And totally rad stuff. I met Jo back I'd been following her on Instagram. I met her back at Legions of Metal. So rad. Super rad chick. She's showing what's up with the women in the metal scene, you know, with almost daily episodes. So looking forward to talking to her. What else you got, Jason? I mean, that's a heavy deal. Which also this past week, I want to point out, I did a Metal Monday or a Music Monday post. And totally did Cemetery Rats by Orange Goblin, which is a great song on the new album.
It sounds like Chuck Billy sings on that song to me.
I get that.
But he very much sounds like it.
Yeah, there's definitely a Billyism to it.
Yeah.
Charles William.
Yeah, I'm still listening to Orange Goblin. So, yeah.
Are you still listening to it, dude? You need to put on that Freeways album after the Orange Goblin. You'll thank me.
Yeah, I just keep forgetting. You need to send me a reminder in the morning when I do my heavy listening and driving to work.
Right. So how is the big Carolina of North going? I mean, y'all got shows coming up. You all played AVL Fest last night.
Yeah, well, as of this recording last night, we played AVL Fest. I have no idea how it went because I haven't done it yet, but hopefully it goes well. And if you were there, reach out, which I don't really expect anybody to be there. But that listens to the show. You never know,
dude. Wouldn't it be interesting?
It's a wristband only event. So basically, if you don't buy a wristband, you don't get in, which I think is kind of bizarre for the small venues, considering they still need business to come in. The big venues I understand because like you have capacities and
paid.
And they're gonna have a lot of people there anyway. But small venues like a bar that doesn't allow other people outside the AVL Fest to come in, I thought it was kind of weird.
Right.
It's not my deal because we're getting paid pretty good. So.
Right, and so were they. That's
hopefully all new people, except for like the bands and maybe some guest bands.
That'd be a great idea.
So yeah, hopefully some new people. We'll see.
Speaking of Asheville
next
bands,
weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Asheville bands, I did see that All Hell was playing a free show in Atlanta later this year.
Yeah,
that was totally cool. I saw the flyer and I was like, wow, that looks really rad.
Yeah, they're also playing they're also playing the post party of Heavy Mountain the weekend of
as Celtic Frost.
Celtic Frost, yeah.
Yes, totally. Yeah. I guess that's the only thing that I care for in like a tribute band is if it's like a once a thing, once in a while.
I have no problems when it's like bands playing tribute sets. The problem I have is the tribute bands that make a whole fucking career out of other people's homework.
Sure.
Yes, that's where I draw the line. Like what All Hell's doing, playing like an all tribute band set with like 3 other bands, totally cool. I dig that shit actually. But when you're just like Nirvana instead of like Nirvana with an A, you spell it with an I, and you make all your money playing songs that you had no part in writing whatsoever. That's why I'm like, you're a fucking hack and you're a fucking cancer to live music.
Right. Yeah. And people call them, that's the bottom of the barrel of playing music.
Yeah, it's worse than a bar cover band.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. A bar cover band has their place. Like I don't necessarily think they're amazing.
Yeah, they should be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays.
Yeah, well, it's like bars that we don't play at, like the fucking the Get Down or something. I don't know why I said that. That used to actually be a venue here in town. We actually played there. Yeah.
Hey, the Village Inn. I mean, I get it. There used to be a venue here. So,
yeah.
I mean...
Funny story, though. The Get Down used to be the Odd. So...
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, well, we went from the Get Down to the Auditorium. Ripley's made sure that name didn't stick, so now it's just the Odd. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Fuck you, Ripley's.
And also,
the only Ripley that's worth any shit is fucking
Alien.
Ellen Ripley.
And also, there's no Ripley's, believe it or not, anywhere in this part of the state to be found. So go figure.
Yeah. They're I mean, probably the next closest one is Nashville or some shit.
Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg.
Close enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it. This is from Metal of Jupiter. This is Tell of Your. What's going on, metalheads? We are back this week with Miss Jo Gamel from Jo Gamel's Rock Goddesses and Jupiter, Metal of Jupiter, the Oracle of Jupiter, musician, interviewer, artist, both visual and audio. Jo, how are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm happy to be
Yeah,
here. I'm happy
hell
to
yeah.
chat with you again after hanging out at Legions of Metal and getting to see you play with your band.
Right. Yeah. That, I mean, it's hard to believe that that has been 3 months ago already. And it's crazy how time flies in the metal scene. And even just from that time, the insane, like for one, the insane amount of episodes that you have put out, because you do almost daily interview episodes. How, and this has been a very time consuming thing. How do you do that? I do a one a week, sometimes two, and I'm just, wow. How do you do 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 a week?
I don't know if I've ever done seven in a week, but still I do a lot. I don't know. I guess I think it's so much fun to talk to everybody. Every single person that comes on the channel is so unique, and so I'm excited to
Sure.
like discover them as a person. Anybody who's seen the show knows that my questions are like um sort of beyond music. They're also like personal, like what kind of self-care is your favorite, and like how do you keep your spirits up when you bump into challenges. And so it's so much fun that I don't know, it's like a wonderful thing to do every day, or close to
Sure.
every day. I mean, I still got to go to work, so
Right. And I mean, we all have the day job, which is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I've been on the situation where I will go and have like 5 or 6 or 8. Up at one point this year, I think I had 12 weeks scheduled out that was already done. They only needed to be edited. And your show is pretty much, it's got a quick turnaround time, correct?
yeah, it's like I film and then release within a few hours. I don't do any editing for two reasons. One being that, like we were talking about before we started, if it's not fun for me, I will lose interest because then
Sure.
it's like a drag. And
Feels a
I
little
don't
too
think,
much like work.
yeah, I guess that's what it is. And then the other reason is I, as a listener, like to hear pauses, like who's thinking before they speak and who has no filter. Like that's a part of the
Sure.
personality. So I just let it roll and I put it on the internet, and then whatever you say is how you say it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And yeah, there is, I think that stuff's pretty cool too. As it goes through my editing process, it's mostly just ums and that stuff, like the awkward pause, as it were. But no, so what made you want to get into doing interviews for one?
Hmm. Um, I was getting really interested in the history of women in rock, and I started a painting series. Maybe there were like 40 paintings. They were all portraits of women that are household names like Lita Ford, Joan Jett, Nina Hagen. If Nina Hagen's a household name, I'm not even really sure about that. But basically, like in my mind, the classics. And so as I would work on each portrait, I would listen to the woman's discography, and I would watch her interviews, and I'd watch her biographies. And not every woman had done video interviews that I could find. And I thought that this contributed to my lack of access for women role models for rock and metal and punk and all forms of music, pretty much. So I wanted to sort of like correct that for anybody who is a teenager now and really needs, especially like girls, like a 15-year-old girl who really needs to see the whole story of how people get somewhere. So I focus on underground bands because I want to show everybody how we
Right.
start. So it's like Kim Kardashian's first job was an underwear model, right? So like everybody's got to start at the bottom. And so I wanted to like capture the moment of the bottom. It's so exciting too to see an interview with somebody when they're first getting started and they're still underground. And maybe you're watching it like 10 years after it came out and like you're like, oh, like I don't know, I have this idea of like a 15-year-old finding my channel in 10 years and being like, oh, Jo Gamel's Rock Goddesses. And then like noticing all of these people on the show that they're like, these people are so huge and look at them here. They're like, oh, this is my first album and like I've never been on
Sure.
tour before. So I wanted
Yeah,
to really like capture the newness of the underground, cutting edge.
definitely. And I think that's a very noble gesture, and I think I'm the same way about it. So that's, I think, where we have a similarity in our shows is, focusing on more on the underground metal and rock, as it were, instead of not. And even still, even with getting somebody who is a catch like an Anvil or a Midnight, or a Night Demon, bands that are on that bigger side, you know even with them, they're still underground to a degree, um and I dig that. That's one of the things I like about your show. And I also like your show because it is an all-inclusive show as well, meaning, like, I can watch it and say, I'm a metalhead. I've got long hair. I might be trying some of these like hair products that are recommended, So I mean, no
Yeah.
shame in that at all, Be if you're the
Mhm.
metalhead and you've got the hair, you got to take care of it. So
Okay. Yeah, that is a good point. I mean, what? I'm not going to do the interview thing. I like what's approach it for keeping your hair in good condition after you just headbanged at a show and you're all sweaty and stuff. Like this is the stuff we need to talk about.
I
What's
am
a
terrible about that. I am very terrible about it. I will usually wait until the next day, and then I will mess with it. Yeah, but I mean, that's just me being a scuzzy dude. So
No, I mean I have done that too. I'll just be like, it's going into the bun and I'm going to sleep and I'll figure it out tomorrow. Just a lot
oh
of
no, I'll
conditioner.
I'll rat nest it. I mean, mine, it'll just, I won't put it up. It'll No, I'll make sure it's rat nested in the morning.
You
But
know, that's a mark of patience, honestly,
digressing
because
here.
I know it's gonna
Right.
have a girl on your metal show. Now we're
Make
talking
sure you
about
use the
hair.
tea. Make sure you use the tea tree oil shampoo. There you
There we go.
go. Guys, it's got good stuff in it. But no, let's talk about Jupiter. So you've got quite a few amazing musicians you're surrounded with. Snowy Shaw, Kyle McNeill, holy hell. So I mean, and that's just two. So tell everybody in Metal Forge land about Jupiter and where, obviously, from Jupiter, where you come from.
Um, well, I guess that the whole project started with when I became friends with Olaf Wickstrand and Enforcer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was like on the album Diamonds, he does some scatting kind of like David Lee Roth. And I thought that was so interesting because where I grew up, we had this funk and soul radio station, and then we had like kind of a metal station. And those were like the only two stations that came in clearly because I lived in a rural area. So to hear some scatting on a metal album was so exciting to me. So I ended up writing the lyrics to Ode to Death for him. And then I was at the studio with him and the producer when they were working on that album, Zenith. And Tomas wrote the lyrics to Black Sun. And so that's how we got to know each other through Olaf. And Tomas is just like a really brilliant creature that has this totally idiosyncratic way of using language. And fun fact about him, he is second place in the world for a game called Boggle, which is like a speed game where you make as many words as you can out of a group of like 9 letters that are like
Sure.
shaken in a
I'm
box.
familiar with it.
Yeah, he's second in the world. So he's like
Holy
got a
hell,
special
that's
brain.
insane.
And he does it in English, not in Swedish, in a second
Wow.
language. Second, yeah. So he has a special brain. And so then he knew David from Help at His Port, obviously. And then David knew Kyle. And Snowy Shaw actually just lives down the road from Tomas. So that's kind of how it came together. It was like uh, Tomas and I were co-composing. Like he writes the string parts, but the overall song structure is something that I do. So there's like an influence from sort of like outside of metal on the song
Right.
structure. Um, and then uh, David, super easy. Kyle, super easy. We just send them the tracks. And then Snowy doesn't, he's a little more particular about what he'll work on. So we sent it to him, and he liked the way that I sang. And so that's why he decided to work with us as a group.
Hell yeah.
That's the story.
That's rad as hell. Now, obviously today is a very special day, and we've got more on that in a minute because we're going to be debuting something new, right?
Yes, we are gonna debut
Ah,
the second
see,
single.
you heard it here first. In a minute, obviously, because we're gonna do the rest of this interview. But with Jupiter, what is the overall goal with? I know you're releasing songs. Are you planning an album? Are you planning shows, possibly small or I don't know, large tour? Who knows?
Oh my God. So album, yes, and Olaf wants to produce it. Something that he spoke about and expressed in the past to me was just that once you've like struck um, sort of like a streak, I don't know, with a band, you build an audience that really likes one kind of sound that you made, and then it's really hard to experiment and deviate with that same band going
Sure.
forward. People don't like it when you introduce a new sound as much as working with a new group and introducing a sound that way. So he's super excited to work with this more experimental sound that Jupiter has. And so he's going to be producing the album, and we're working on figuring out just when we get all that done. Snowy and I are in the same boat. We do not want to tour. So
Okay.
maybe we'll play some festivals, but obviously he's very busy, and
Right.
that was like kind of one of the questions that was like sort of like my heart was racing because he was like, "Okay, so I have one serious question. How much do you want to tour?" And I was like thinking like, "Oh my God, I don't want to tour at all." And I was like, "I guess I better just be honest. I hope he doesn't want to tour a lot." And I was like, "How about we do like 2 shows a year?" And he was like,
Right.
"Perfect."
And,
Oh,
and
good.
and I think that's the thing today. I think that's what more bands are leaning to doing because the tour aspect is hard. It's expensive. It takes a lot out of you physically. Let's face it, bad habits form on the road because you're away from your normal everyday structure. And
Mhm.
yeah, when you've got members, like I say, you're here in America, but you have members all over the UK and in Europe. So that's harder to do, especially, when you think about the logistics of actually getting everybody together.
Yeah, so I've been granted permanent Swedish residency, and most people are in Sweden. So we have that at least, but it doesn't really change what you just brought up. People are bored on tour, so they'll start drinking more, those long hours in the van or whatever, bad sleep, bad for your back. You can't hit the gym. All of these things are problems for me, serious problems for me. I don't want to be uncomfortable. So
Sure.
I
And
value my health more than I value touring.
absolutely, I get that. And yeah, because I'll notice that you go roller skating a lot because
Sure do.
is that part of your fitness routine as well?
Yeah, I love weightlifting and roller skating. I go for like 14-mile roller skate adventures, I guess. And um it really stinks when I can't do that. It's just, exercise is so good for your mental health. I definitely advocate for people to exercise themselves into a good mood. Tomas obviously is also a gym person for sure.
Sure.
So whenever we are in the same place working on the music together, because I go to Sweden pretty often to work on this stuff, um, we are at the gym so much. I am way more fit when I hang out with Tomas than I am by myself, just because I have like a membership to a gym in Sweden. It's just like,
Sure.
I don't know. Anyway, really not important.
Nice.
Yeah.
And hey, I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing, that's what it's supposed to be about, you know, making the life that you want to live. That's I think that's the ultimate out of anything, even out of like rock and metal. It's because it's the way people want to live. And I am totally down with that. So when you say that you would like to do festivals, I mean, have there been any talks already? Have you that you can talk about? Like, are you looking at maybe at something in later 2024 or 2025?
No, we're not really talking
Like,
about that yet.
are we gonna get Bob Byrne on the line from Legions of Metal and have him invite Jupiter next year?
Oh my God, that's so hard to do with the visas to
I
get people to
know,
the
and it's
US.
gonna get worse next year because the visa laws changed for starting in like October.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So that's like, yeah. So maybe one day Moose School Rock. That would be a fun one I'd like to do. But
Absolutely.
we're not really talking about
Um,
that yet.
well, I mean, hey, there's always time, and hey, that's what it's all about. You've always got time. So I am going to ask you a listener question.
Ooh.
And the question is, what kind of parallels do you see between art and music? What makes trying to navigate the art scene different from the music scene?
Oh my God, what a fun question. Thanks, whoever brought that up.
And that was submitted by Zeba from
Oh,
Ice Howl.
love her
I
so
I
much.
asked and reached out and said, were there any questions? And those were her questions. So
Oh,
what are the parallels between the art scene and the music scene? Because as everyone on the video can see behind Joe here, there is so much art. Obviously, as I'm looking at it here, I totally see the quintuple headed bass goddess behind us, and I I think it's awesome. There it is. So yeah, we'll talk about that in a second as well. But please, how would you answer that?
I think about this a lot. So, whether you're a visual artist or a writer or a musician, artists break conventions and introduce new ideas. And sometimes that's shocking for cultures, groups, scenes, and sometimes it's even annoying. But those are the
Understandable.
truly Those are the truly unique ideas, and they are like usually not tied to commercial success. And I believe that you should never try to tie your art to commercial success. Sometimes it happens anyway. But once you do, get pigeonholed. If you're an artist and you're working in a gallery and you produce, this is like real life arts world stuff. If you produce a painting, let's just say you painted like a star and a banana together and that sold and it was like the best selling painting, the gallery will say to you while you're on their contract, sort of like a record label, we liked that. More bananas and stars. Okay. So now you send them 5 and they're like more, and then 10, and then they put on a show and it's all bananas and stars. And it all sells and it sells for a lot of money. Great. Awesome. Now the gallery says you're still on our contract. More bananas and stars. And then you're sending them 20 bananas and stars and they're all selling great. And you're like, I don't want to paint bananas and stars all the time.
Sure.
And so the same thing can happen in music. Like I was just saying, with Enforcer, it's like you end up creating a sort of a trend or a convention that is hard to work outside of. But in art, it's really normal, fine art, I mean, it's really normal for artists to have bodies of work. So, like, all by rock goddess portraits are really different from some things that I'll do afterwards. Or I did like earlier in my career, I did a series of still lifes that was very popular and fun. And then I was like, I don't want to do that right now. I want to work on something else. So there's a lot of parallels.
But you
And
also do art too that is different as well. Like you make casting art. You have very mixed media art.
yeah,
For a lot of it that I notice.
yeah, I love mixed media art. I love folk art. I love things that are like quirky and um just like very original. And actually Star Driver, who did our logo and also is a musician and a great artist and does lots of amazing logos and art, said after we released the single that the music is exactly what the art would sound like to her, and that she has said, heard from other people that for her, they have said the same thing, that her art and her music like have the same vibration.
Sure.
So I'd love to see more of the rock goddesses and all the musicians out there dabble in other mediums and see, yeah, what the consistencies would be.
Absolutely. And honestly, there's another artist that I very much admire. His name, he used to be in the band Black Knife from Lexington, Kentucky, which is, kind of like a black thrash band. They were anyways. They're no longer out, but he did all of their artwork. And it again, it matches because he's writing the songs, it matches the band to a T. And his black metal one man show, Glass Coffin, is definitely, it's the same thing. The artwork that he does for that, prime. So yeah, I think that's a big thing, And as you said a minute ago, to relate back to the thing of saying that uh, artists releasing something, and then they might change their sound a bit, and people all of a sudden just are turned off. Yeah, that happens a lot, like more often than it should. And I think the big turning point when people started noticing bands doing that was with Metallica, when the
Oh yeah,
Black
yeah,
Album and
that's
then Load and Reload came out. But anyways, that's another topic for another day, is why, anybody would, make that parallel. So
wait. I have to add one thing to this.
sure.
So like the creative vibration, um, the color cyan. So like color is a wavelength. It's a light wavelength, and our eyes are sensitive to the wavelengths, just the way that our ears are sensitive to vibrations that are also wavelengths in their sound. Cyan is, I'm pretty sure it's a C sharp or a C flat. They're the same wavelength. It just depends on
Interesting.
how we're perceiving them. Yeah, so I think like a visual artist and a musician, can have the same vibration in their work.
Definitely. No, I think that's absolutely a thing. Um, so her other question in that is what makes trying to navigate the art scene different than the music scene?
I don't know if there's very much. It's sort of got the same gasoline, and that's money. Um, with
Sure.
money opens doors for both. Like if you want to, if you want to release an album and you really want it to break a certain threshold, all if you look at the data on those albums, like the production costs are high. And
Yeah.
then it's the same thing with fine art. If you want to like like break into a certain like threshold of buyer, like you're going to have to create work that actually is more time consuming, which makes it more expensive, and like materials may be more expensive, and even the production, like we were talking about casts and molds, like the rubber molds and the epoxy resin are more expensive materials to work with than
Sure.
like paper mache. So that is very similar. What's different? Hmm.
Oh, and I totally get the I was and this has been a recurring point made on the show for like the last 5 years with what you just said about the production costs and everything, and whether working with paper mache versus resin versus silicone molds or paint oil versus acrylic, etc. Is don't blame your lack of technology or lack of material for not doing your art either. Because if you want to do it, you will do it bad enough. You will do it with something, whether it's, pen and ink or whatever, you will make
Mhm.
it work no matter what. And I think that's the same way over anything, whether it's film, whether it's music, whether it's paintings and visual art like that, drawing illustrations, uh you'll
To
make it
your
work.
point, to your point, Beetlejuice had a really low special effects budget, and so it was like intentionally exaggerated, like bad special effects. I'm like,
Hmm.
well, we have a $0 budget for our music video, so we're going for full camp. We just want it to be fun and creative. And it is time consuming, but so in that way, it is valuable because time is so valuable.
Sure.
But like, I mean, I like art like that. I like art that is like found objects. I like paper mache. Like, it doesn't have to be a glass sculpture to be interesting to me. Um, so yeah, to your point, like it can be interesting,
Sure.
a
Oh yeah, I
concept.
I enjoy thread art, like where people will hang different lengths of thread in different colors and you just walk into it in a certain way and it makes image after image after image. There was one that we
Yeah.
had here in Louisville at the Speed Art Museum years ago where it was like the old English writing that's on the top of like the Declaration of Independence, we the people. And it was written
Mhm.
like that, but it was with thread that was
Wow.
suspended from the ceiling. So it's like,
Love it.
holy hell, how can it's like I don't have that third eye to do that. Not
Hmm.
like that
Maybe,
anyways.
yeah, maybe that's kind of like being able to see, like envision art in your third eye or hear a song in your head somehow when you're writing, be a
Sure.
relationship.
And maybe that's what it is for me is,
Yeah.
hearing a riff or something. So,
Hmm.
and I'm cool with that. And because everybody's different and everybody has their own thing.
Yes. Um, hmm. Oh, yeah. So like a concept like that of like using this thread and transforming the material through what? Like it goes through this process, this like transmutation to become this
Sure.
other thing. And when it gets like complicated enough, or it absorbs enough of like energy, like time, like literally the energy of somebody transforming the material, it becomes this new thing, and that's like the creative birth. But I think that like a concept, like conceptual art, is just as valuable as like a laboriously detailed, like beaded tapestry, where it's like the energy, the transmutation energy, just takes place in the mind, and then the product, like it's like the idea is it still like holds energy, it still holds time. I think I'm getting kind of abstract for this interview. Let's go to the next question.
For sure. No, I think you're right though. I mean, it's like the way perception happens, and uh the way you then process that perception. Is that about what you're going for?
There are so many ways to peel that apple and that onion.
Okay, so
We're
let's
getting really
let's
lost now.
sure. So let's go ahead and have some derailed questions, some fun questions, some just whatever. What are 5 songs that are in your player right now that are rotating that you have to listen
uh,
to constantly?
I cannot stop listening to Rubber Band Man by the Spinners. So it's like a funk song. Um, and then I guess the whole album Break Every Rule by Tina Turner, but if it was one in particular, I guess it would be Typical Male. Um,
Cool.
I've also been listening to Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield a lot, and quite a bit of Diane Davidson, and um, Cher's song "We All Sleep Alone." Those are the ones that have been just all over me the last 3 days.
Definitely. Hell yeah, some pretty cool stuff in there. And wasn't expecting, some of like the Tina Turner at all. I mean, not saying that, yeah, I know you've posted about her before, but like that's totally rad. And Cher's had an interesting career. Cher was pretty metal for a time in the 80s, like when she was doing like when she looked metal anyways, and
Mhm.
became a mega star in that time period, and total rad stuff. If you were a superhero, what would your power be and why?
Oh my gosh, I love that question. My superpower would be the ability to like purify things. So I could touch a river and all of the like pollution and trash would just like dissipate and turn into like space dust and float back into space. And I would be able to touch like a decayed, beautiful mansion or something, and it would just like magically like rebuild.
That would be cool. That would be awesome. I mean,
Like
hell
so
yeah.
ready for that answer.
No, that's great because it's like there are so many, whether it be like dilapidated houses or, or so much pollution because it's everywhere. It's not just an American thing, it's an everywhere thing. I mean, granted, we're, probably worse in certain places in this country than a lot of other places, but it's everywhere. So yeah, that's a very noble superpower uh that you're I think that lets on your character that you're thinking of Mother Earth first and everyone else first too than yourself, which is totally rad.
But what if there's like selfish parts to it? Like I would totally return all the streets of Philadelphia to cobblestone. Everybody else would hate that, but I think it would be gorgeous.
That would be cool. But is that a but it does that because is that a purification?
Well, you know what? With all the potholes we have on these streets, it
Yeah,
probably
probably
is.
so. Yeah, that's a fair point.
And they're not
That's a
even potholes anymore. They're craters at this point. So
Oh
driving
yeah.
around the craters might as well be out on the moon.
Talk about that infrastructure bill.
Yeah, that didn't work. That
Right.
went way haywire.
No kidding.
Anyway,
What keeps you interested in your goals and dreams?
boredom. I get so bored. I absolutely have to have something to work on all the time.
Sure. Yeah, judging from you from being a follower of yours, uh, you are always active. You are always, I don't necessarily want to call it the hustle, but like you are always going. And, that is pretty cool to watch somebody like you just be like, all right, I'm gonna go roller skate. Here's about 12 here's about 12 stories while I'm doing this. And, hey, decided to get ice cream, which is totally cool, and it is infectious, and that's awesome. I mean,
Oh, I'm so happy
hopefully
to
your
hear that.
followers notice that like I have. But yeah, I think yeah, that's awesome.
I feel so lucky every time one of the girls from the show tells me that being on the show has reinvigorated their commitment to their art. Like, that is just, oh, that's like the best feeling ever. It's like, I don't know. It's just such a surprising secondary reward for like
Well,
just trying to capture the stories and create like a time capsule. Like, it's only 2024 this year and then it's gone. And so it's like
yeah.
I I'm so proud and grateful that the show can make the girls want to create.
Oh, for sure. And, I am glad that there is a show that focuses on women in rock and metal and don't bring it out as the ridiculous alliterative title that people use as a selling point. No pun and, whatever. And I hate that shit because, you you have just as much a place rocking in the front of a fucking band that anybody else does. And you know the women that you've had on the show are fortunate to have had such a platform to be able to get it off their get it out. And you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? And yeah, I think that's the big pressing point of, having you on was watching your show and saying, Joe's doing something that's amazing for the scene in general, not just women, but you know, even men that watch your show. I know there's men that watch your show as well.
Oh yeah.
And it's, because hey, again, it is informative and it is these people that, so many people admire. Whether it be somebody like a Deb Levine from Lady Beast or um uh Amy from Solicitor or, I don't know, Stacy from Savage Master, anybody, Erica from Sanhedrin, the list could go on and on and on. And granted, they, a lot of the times they've been here too. And it's just like I enjoy having so many people on the show. And I can tell that's what you like as well. So, and it is a
Yeah,
snapshot.
right.
And
Yeah.
which you did recently put out a playlist, correct? That
Oh,
has
yeah.
bands from your show, which
Oh,
that'll be
okay.
linked below.
So
Uh,
many of the people on that playlist are people I've had on the show. I'd love to have everybody from the playlist on. You're thinking of the new wave of traditional heavy metal girls playlist, which is actually broader than the name suggests.
okay,
And because it's also like punk and rock and goth and all sorts of things. Um, but I started it because I was like, I know about all of these bands, but I'm not seeing them being platformed as much as I would like to. So let me make this playlist and I'll just let everybody know that they're on it and they can share it with each other. Um, and it got like pretty popular, I guess. I'm not sure like what popular is for the
sure.
internet anymore because it's just infinite.
Yes, it's not like the it used to be the likes on the Facebook page. You remember those days where it's like
Yeah.
our band has 5,000 likes. We're somebody.
Yeah. Now
And now that's
nobody
just like that
knows
doesn't
anymore.
mean shit. Yeah, nobody cares. It's all follows now. Um, so before we get on with some more derailed questions, I do want to ask one other thing regarding the Jo Gamel's Rock Goddesses, sorry, podcast. Um, is so is there any, I mean, obviously you're releasing a lot of episodes, and so are you, how, I mean, are you gonna like go on and on and on? Is that what your current goal is?
Yes, so I don't know. I'm just gonna keep going.
Hell yeah.
I've
That's
got
what I
no.
want to hear. Yeah, just
Yeah.
talk to everybody. That's what
Oh
matters,
yeah.
because we're
I
all
want to talk
people.
to everybody. Yeah. And all the guests have, like, when they come from a varied, influence, they have like totally different ways of storytelling, and all of their information is so valuable, and the crossover between them is super interesting too. And I usually try to grab my guests on Instagram and drop them into group chats. So I have like the British Isles rock goddesses, for example. And when I know a band is about to go on tour in the UK, then I'll put them in the group chat and I'll say, hey,
Oh,
so and
sweet.
so is about to like go on tour, and like all of you should try to be the opening acts in your town for this band. And so I have seen bands pick up more girls. Like Savage Masters tour is full of female fronted bands, and the same thing for Burning Witches. And
True. And
yeah,
honestly, when Ice Howl is playing in Indianapolis next at the end of August, that's it's three-quarters of a show with women vocalists, because
it's so nice.
it will be Ice Howl, Idol Throne from Hammond, Indiana. Then it will be Bloodstar, and then Sanhedrin. So yeah, I totally get that. And such a rad deal to have that kind of a show. I like that.
That is so exciting. So sexy, honestly.
Well, yeah. And all three women that are singing that night are top fucking notch. For sure. Madeline, Erica, and Zeba. Uh
They really are. They really
th-
are. All three of them are so, so talented.
oh, for sure. For sure. So we, as artists, we always have those days. Okay, where we get inside our heads, where we just feel like laying on the couch, and it's like the proverbial rainy day, even when it's sunny and 95 out, it could be there. How do you cope?
Oh man, there's so many ways to cope. Is it like I'm resisting it or I'm leaning into it? So I guess if I'm leaning in and it's like, okay, if I'm gonna be sad, I'm gonna be French girl sad. I'm getting in the bubble bath. I'm listening to like Celine Dion. I'm gonna complain to my sister in a voice note for like an hour and a half. And then oh, it's just like you take it to an extreme and it becomes so funny that then you're like, all
Sure.
right, I'm over it.
Well,
Or
that's
are you
great.
like, or you can resist it, and it can be like resisting it is like thinking, for me, it's like thinking of role models, which is again a really important part of the Rock Goddess video series. It's like remembering that Cher didn't have her biggest hit until she was 52. Tina Turner started over. She had to let go of a huge career and start over with 4 kids because Ike dumped them on her. Joan Jett got rejected from 23 labels after the Runaways broke up. And the majority of the classic rock goddesses, just what I call female rock stars, because rock star feels so gendered to me personally. So gone beyond. We're goddesses. So
Sure.
anyway, but the majority of them, if their band fell apart, they released a solo album. Like, I don't know, Stevie Nicks and Tina Turner and Sonny and Cher and so many examples. And so it's like when that happens, it's an invitation to like be creative and do something else. So I don't know. I just think about these people who, I mean, Doro Pesh, right? Warlock fell
Sure.
apart, and then she did Doro. Yuta Weinhold, oh, she went through it. And she went through it again and again and again, and she just white knuckled it.
Right.
And so,
Absolutely.
and yeah,
And
I
Wendy,
don't know,
of course.
right? And then
Yeah,
the third
Wendy
thing that
Williams
helps
or
me,
Wendy O. Williams. Yeah, she did it too after
right?
Plasmatics.
Yeah, it's so funny that we always have to differentiate that. Um, then the third option, if I'm not choosing resist or lean in, would be that I have two parrots that scream at me until I get up. So
That yeah, you
getting
you
up.
you have shared them on the reels before, so totally rad. My guitar player in Overload is a bird guy. He
Ah,
Yep, he loves his birds. He is a zoo actually. He has a rabbit, he has rats, or he has birds. He's had all kinds of pets. So yeah, totally cool. Um, I do have a couple more questions. What would be your last meal?
ooh, um, it would be a whole fish, like a sole. Maybe it would be ice or salt baked sole.
Ooh,
Yeah.
hell
And
yeah.
then maybe I'd pair it with like some kava.
That sounds very nice. I've never had it, but it sounds awesome.
There are very few places to get it, but you can get it. There's one place that has a location in Miami and one that has a location in Manhattan. I can't think of the name of the place right now.
Nice.
Um, but kava, you can get that at the grocery store. So at least there's that.
Hell yeah. Do you have any recommendations for any of the listeners out there? Just on anything.
Mm. Like, how about a movie? So
Sure.
uh,
If you, yeah, recommend a
you should
movie.
read, or I mean, watch Ninth Heart if you can find it. It's a Czech film. Eastern European horror, magic horror,
Yeah.
fantasy, which is really funny because The Onion just like released like a funny little meme that was like, odd, my encyclopedia, my knowledge of Eastern European horror fantasy isn't attracting women. And I was like, I feel targeted. And then in the caption, it was like, is it so much to ask for a woman to wear a choker to a formal event? And I had like just worn this like garnet crucifix choker to the opening of my show at the European Museum of Modern Art. And I was like, I feel very targeted.
It's like
Um,
somebody was paying attention.
are they
So,
watching me? Um,
right, exactly.
yeah, for a while, I also kind of wondered if Miley Cyrus' stylist was watching me. Then
Ooh.
another recommendation
I
for
totally think
something.
that's a thing that happens, by the way.
Yeah, why wouldn't it be like? Yeah, of course they're looking
Yeah.
at people.
Soon, as you can see here, somebody's gonna put a jawbone on their microphone like I did.
Oh,
No, because people, I seriously think that's a thing that happens. Um, you know, you get these weird followers on Instagram and Facebook that you've never seen or anything, and they never interact with anybody. Yeah, they're watching people. It's
oh
my
yeah.
conspiracy theorist out there.
No, I don't think that's a conspiracy. That's real. But another recommendation, something to read, Poland by James Michener.
Okay.
Fictional history. Yeah, really, really fun.
Is it like you say it's fictional history, but is it like edutainment as it's called, where it's like you're taking a real instance of history, but you're writing a story within it? Like, say
Yeah,
for
kind of.
example, Titanic, the movie, is what they call edutainment. It's because it's a real thing that happened, but they interjected this story in there.
Yeah, I would say that all of James Michener's writing is kind of like that. He wrote Tales of the South Pacific, he wrote Space, he wrote Centennial, and he's like kind of one of my favorite authors because he um, really studies the history of whatever I mean, and sometimes it's not history, such as space, but he studies it in great detail. And then he creates fictional characters that carry the plot over a timeline, but at the same time, the timeline is actually like factual information,
Sure.
but it's like sort of like dramatized. Yeah. And it's just fascinating and exciting. And then, like, as you read it, you're sort of like, oh, is this part real or is this part fantasy? And then you end up, digging
You
around
got to look
yourself.
at, well, what was back in the day, Cliff's Notes, yeah, to find out the inner workings of how somebody wrote the scene. So now it's all Wikipedia. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. But I have oh, well, no, I do have one more question other than that as well. Um, who would be a dream interview?
Oh, alive or
Because
dead?
you're focused on the underground,
Yeah.
and say an opportunity came up, and who would
Mm.
be a dream interview?
Oh God, talking to Nina Hagen would probably be just so interesting.
Have you ever thought about reaching
Or
out?
Kate Bush or Nina Hagen. You know who I did reach out to? Jenny
Who?
Darren. Yeah,
Who?
Jenny Darren. Jenny Darren, before Nico McBrain joined Iron Maiden, he did an album with Jenny Darren, and
Sure.
she sings like a little bit like Tina Turner, I guess. She released the song Heartbreaker, later covered by Pat Benatar first. And her version is way heavier.
Right.
She was a British singer still influenced by the black roots of American rock. And um yeah, so I reached and then she went on like Britain's Got Talent or something and had this like sort of like revival of interest in her. That kind of like I don't know what happened after that, but she's one of my favorite singers and I did reach out to her, but I don't know if it ever made it, like did go in the
Sure.
stand. I found maybe I found her Instagram. I can't really remember. I wasn't able to get a hold of her, but that one would be cool too. But I do think that Nina Hagen, yeah, I should you're right. I should reach out to Nina Hagen.
There
Imagine
you
talking to
go.
Nina Hagen. That would be so
Hey, you never know
fun.
until you never know until you fire that email, I guess.
Write that down. Reach
Hell yeah.
email Nina
So
Hagen.
she's on her cell phone right now looking her up. It's like,
Watching
can
the
I find an
show.
email? As always, links are listed below, so please give a like, a share, and a follow. Go buy merch because they have the awesomest merch out there, the comfiest merch, I think it says on the store. Um, they have awesome like leggings, which those hey, compression pants kick ass. I'm not gonna lie, they kick ass. Um, but
Get a
yeah,
blanket. Cold
yeah, get a
sometimes at those
blanket.
outdoor
Get
concerts.
you need snuggies. You need Jupiter
Honestly,
snuggies.
well, the blanket I actually did design for Muskell Rock because every year Muskell Rock is a different terrible temperature. And so nobody ever has warm enough clothes for it. And then like just once in a while it's like medium, but at night it goes right back to freezing. And so I thought, what we should sell at Muskell Rock? Blankets. Now
That's a great
everybody knows
idea.
my idea. No, everybody knows my idea now, and everybody's gonna have blankets at Muskell Rock next year.
Well, I mean, hey,
Better for
but
everyone.
yeah, not everybody does, and it's the thing of, hey, just because somebody's logo t-shirt doesn't sell doesn't mean that somebody else's logo t-shirt won't. So, I mean, because it's all a taste, and you all do have a great logo. I do like that. Um, it's it's totally 80s awesomeness. mixed with the 70s, like with the Technicolor look. I love it. But as I was saying, go buy merch, do all the stuff, go like, share, and subscribe, and all of that to not only Jupiter, but Jo Gamel's Rock Goddesses podcast on YouTube and all of that jazz. Do you have anything else you would like to shout out or promote today?
Oh, there's going to be a new music video for the new single as well. That
Nice.
wasn't completely clear. And we decided to dial up the strangeness and the campiness because the response to the first one was like, people were like, was, I don't know, sort of shocking. And I was like, oh, neat. Let's do that more.
Hell yeah. No, I mean, hey, so in the movie Airheads, and I love that film. There's a scene where Jimmy Palantine or Jimmy Wang or whatever his name is from the record company says to Chaz, he's like, he's like, maybe a gimmick would help. Cream always rises. And because it is very much a thing, and everybody has their thing. There's no two bands that are the same. Even if you have say a tribute band for this one here, that one there,
Mm,
they're
mm.
not the same. And they could play the parts the same, but they play differently. So, yeah, that's the cool thing about it.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I love a gimmick. So, you know. Uh
Yes. And I love this base, by the way. I love explorer shaped bases and V-shaped bases. Hell yes. And
yeah, with my
the
hot pink
pink
strings.
strings.
That's my gimmick. Oh, well, it's like playing the bass with the long nails and the hot pink strings. It's just like
See,
I just
I couldn't play bass like with nails. I get mine if I had mine like even just like longer than what they are, I would be like feeling like I was cutting my fingers because they overlap so much when I
oh, okay.
play. And it's like
I have
yeah, total crazy stuff.
tons of different technique. Yeah. And
So I do have one more question after we get through
okay.
this. Um, what do you think existence was before the Big Bang?
Oh my God. Okay. Preface. I got into this conversation with Hansi Kirsch once about like whether or not he believed in God and like what we thought like about this question.
Sure.
And so what do I think was before the Big Bang? The same exact thing that's here, just a bunch of dust collected and perceived differently. So it was like I think all of this matter was already here. It was just a matter of like the perception of it. And I mean, maybe there
Sure.
was no perception. So maybe the Big Bang is just the dawn of perception.
Sure.
Like,
Absolutely. I think it was a different uh situation. I think it was a different it was something that was there, but it's something that's not now, and we're here now. So, and my reason for thinking that is like other civilizations and everything else. What's so wild is going into the subway in New York and getting, finding the openings to the old subway system, and they're even farther down than the current subway systems, which is wild to me because, I saw in a video where somebody walked down 10 flights of stairs to a subway platform. That's 100 feet underground. That's insanity. And so
yeah.
yeah, maybe that's what life was before the Big Bang is we uh we had subways that were even lower than where we are now.
Actually, in St. Petersburg, Russia, they're a mile underground. I was
Yeah.
very surprised when I got inside of that and just kept going.
Yeah, absolutely. There's the bridge that goes between Chesapeake Bay and there at Virginia and Virginia Beach, and where you go, basically it's a mile long bridge and you're like a third of a mile down the tunnel, or sorry, it's a tunnel, not a bridge. You go a third of a mile down, a third of a mile across, and a third of a mile back up, and you're all underwater. It's just like going through the tunnel in New York, I guess. It's wild, wild stuff.
This is so funny. I have listened to a couple of your episodes and I'm like, how are you going to edit this to sound like we're talking about music
Oh
after all these
no,
things?
no. See, that's the thing with the Metal Forge, is the Metal Forge is not just about music, it's about heavy culture and heavy life, alternative life. It is very much a, it's a platform for, it's very much like yours, how you don't edit a lot of shows.
Mhm.
Here in the recent times, I've not really edited a lot myself. I'll only like some dead air if it goes way too long. If it's like 10 or 12 seconds, I cut it. But like, for the most part, no, it's everything that's there is there. And because everybody has a voice, everybody has something they want to say, and that's what I'm here to do. That's my platform. That's why I put out shows weekly. And honestly, I think that's where, when anybody who has a talk show wants that same thing, I think, wants people to get it off their chest, as it were.
Mm, I love that. Yeah. I love that you bring like an openness for people to like be the whole character that they are.
Sure, because we're all, hey, I'm very much different than, I'm sure Joe at home is different in home because it's safe space than Joe in public, versus Mark in public versus Mark at home. And here in the Metal Forge, I have a room dedicated to this. So when I come in here, I know I've got to be in host mode. And that's always an interesting thing. And I guess where this relates back to the big bang of things is it was existence on its own, but it was just a different form of existence, I guess. I tend to think of it as year one. It's like a restart.
It is a mystery. It cannot be understood.
Exactly. Well, the other thing is how do we know that this quote big bang that we're talking about is not necessarily a firework that we were ignited from? And as fireworks ignite and then die off, how do we know that that's not what because we're always talking about that, like, hey, the sun's gonna burn out, you know, we don't know. But anyways,
Probably.
this is why the section is called Derailed, because everything gets derailed. So, Joe, thank you so much for being in the Metal Forge this week. This has been awesome. I appreciate you. It was great to have met you in person at Legions of Metal. I had already been a follower before that, and I was like, she looks like that person. And then I looked at my phone. I was like, it is her. And then I went up and introduced myself. Um, but
You're
it was
so
such a
friendly.
pleasure to
Thank you
have
for
met you. It
introducing
was such a
yourself.
great show. I'm sorry.
I said you're so friendly. Thank you for introducing yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, hey, we're all people, as I say. And I think that's the reason why I do the show, is we're all people and we all have something to say, like I said. But on our way out today, I'm going to let you tell the people what's going to happen here. So what are we're going
Ooh.
to debut something new.
Oh yes, my faithful friends, you are being rewarded with a preview of the second single from Metal of Jupiter, the Shamaran.
The Shamara. Yeah.
Showers in my purified water in order to become more like her. This is the district of the king of the Sassanids.
45 years in keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They are open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week, located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com. Roll out. Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttatoosandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing. Hey metalheads, after going to a rager, what's your ultimate go-to? Mine is totally pizza. So when Overload is playing, or I'm promoting the Metal Forge live showcases, or the big goddamn metal show, I go to Pizza DoNisi. Pizza DoNisi is gourmet artisan pizza from right here in Louisville, Kentucky. It features things like the pizza of the month, the sandwiches, and also vegetarian and vegan options, which is so totally fucking cool for all of it's awesome pizza. You definitely want to go. Hey, and also from time to time they do cannolis. Oh, so fucking good. You know what they said, man? Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Yeah, just like that in Godfather. They're located right next to the Mag Bar at 1396 South 2nd Street, so either stop in or call in at 502-213-0488. They're open till midnight. The witching hour.
Heineken? Fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!
Hey metalheads, you all hear me talk about Mag Bar all the time. It is the home to the Metal Forge live showcases and is an integral stop in the ultimate underground metal tour schedule. They obviously feature live music, but the Mag Bar also has daily specials like Pint and Slice Night on Tuesdays with Pizza DoNisi. But they also do Bring Your Own Vinyl on Thursdays with DJ Kent Jackson, and Finer Things Sundays. Located right next to Pizza DoNisi at 1398 South 2nd Street, open 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week. Get your asses out to the Mag Bar. Rock out. In 2017, one man's vision and passion for all things metal started out as a record store in his house. Years later, the fight against a mainstream empire continues as Shadebeast. an independent metal collective and online store based in Athens, Georgia, is the world's premier heavy metal brand for music heads that value authenticity over the mainstream acceptance. Featuring original t-shirts from some of the best underground artists, as well as stickers, posters from the Shadebeast Presents concert series. Unique, one-of-a-kind collectibles and small curated selection of vinyl and cassettes from the masters old and new. Visit shadebeast.com and enter promo code SithLord for free domestic shipping on your first order, whether you're a new customer or returning. And be sure to join the Shadebeast social groups on Facebook and the interwebs to keep up with the new release announcements and talk all things metal and Star Wars. You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and filth.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day, all with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Since 2013, there has been a calling from the underground, from the graves of all those unholy, and they decided to make a zine to talk about all of this. Soul Grinder Zine! An independent metal zine to keep you informed on all things metal and horror from the underground. Available in both print and digital formats, they're bringing you the best interviews and reviews out there today. Not only do they do the zine, but they also do compilation CDs. Check them out at facebook.com/soulgrinder.zine and start your subscription now. Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com.
What's up, Metal Forge fans? This is Alan Bishop, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest and head distiller at Spirits of French Lick. Do you find yourself drawn to the unexplained, fascinated by the Fortean, or enchanted by the paranormal? If the things that go bump in the night resonate in your mind, then tune into my brand new podcast, If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. Featuring first-hand accounts, collected stories, interviews, history, and speculation related to all things not of this world. Available now on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Amazon, and more. Sit back, relax, and remember, if you have ghosts, you have everything.
Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE10 to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now.